What's going on, everybody out there in YouTube world, kick your butt out world? This is Paul, your hip hop relationship and recovery coach, and I'm bringing to you again another one of these wonderful episodes of Kick Your Butt Out. As usual, before I get off into what I want to say, I have to continue to do this because my favorite book says this: faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So I'm going to continue to say this so that we can all, at some point, incorporate this into our lives as we listen to it with our minds. And that is, if you're looking for a butt, my brother, my sister, my child, it's going to always be easy to find one. It's just that simple. All right. Let me get off into the content for today. Monday's title, we talked about, but you didn't break your fall, from a relationship standpoint, because I had many falls when it came to relationships due to the fact that I had a bunch of issues that I hadn't dealt with, and I didn't know how to build relationships where they wouldn't end up falling, or I wouldn't end up falling. Neither was I even interested in trying to find out how to build healthy relationships. And that's one of the reasons why I continue to fall. So today I'm going to relate that same thing to recovery. So today's episode or title for this podcast is But You Didn't Break Your Fall, Part 2. And I want to say this, everybody. You can take this title and you can apply that to any area of your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be limited to relationships and recovery, because there's many areas in our lives where we're falling and not breaking the fall. And if we pay attention, we can stop this, because I want to make sure that I say this, and that is, nothing just happens. There are always things that lead up to the happening. That'll be signs and warnings that says something is coming ahead. And if you don't pay attention and turn that thing around, there's going to be a fall. So what am I saying? I want you all to destroy that mindset or mentality that says, I didn't know what happened, or it just happened, because nothing just happened. And in many cases, we know it's happening before it happened, because again, the signs and the warnings are always there. Okay. So when it comes to recovery, I'm gonna talk about some of my own personal experiences as a person who's in recovery, as well as a person who is a professional in the recovery workforce. For me, I didn't break my fall many times. And what am I saying? I lived in relapse over and over and over and over again. And it's interesting that this morning, before I got to start this podcast, I had listened to a message by the great, awesome, and anointed Sarah Jakes Roberts. And one of the things that she said in it that stuck out to me was that even though Jesus has set us free from a whole lot of things, a whole lot of people, and a whole lot of places, we have to get set free or break the chains or the bonds or the bondage that we have to the mentality. Let me put it to you like this. I grew up in the projects of Chicago. And when my mother got to the place where she moved us out of the projects, we didn't go back. We didn't have the project mentality. We moved on and did many other things with our lives. And that's significant for me because a lot of other guys who moved, a lot of other people who moved out of the projects before us, it was like they never moved. They was right back over there in the projects doing the project things. And I remember them saying in those days, you can take a person out of the projects, but you can't take the projects out of a person. And that's one of the reasons why we continue to fall. Like I said, in whatever area of our lives that we get set free from, we are still chained to them, unfortunately, in many ways, and we still end up falling. All right. So let me go into my story. There were many times, let me go into, in particular, to one situation. I remember in 2000, the end of 2001 to the first and second quarter of 2002. I had went to jail in the last quarter of 2001, which was October, November, December. And while I was in jail, because I hadn't broken the mentality, I had 9 cases that I was facing in 2 different counties in the state of Wisconsin. That's how bad it was for me. Excuse me. And so as my case was going back and forth to court, it was advocated for me to go and do a residential treatment while my case was still pending. And if I successfully completed all of that, the possibility of me going to prison for the 5th time would have went to probably 1%. So I did everything that I needed to do. And they actually released me from the county jail right into treatment, to residential treatment. I did everything that I needed to do in the residential treatment, successfully completed it, did all the other programs that the court had asked me to do. And ultimately, when I went for sentencing for all 9 of the cases in both of the counties, they gave me probation, didn't send me to prison. So I got out, completed the treatment, and at first I was going to support meetings, support groups. I was an alumni for the treatment center that I was a part of, and I would go back there periodically and speak to the guys and talk with the guys who were new. But one of the things that I didn't do is that I didn't break the chains or the bonds that I had created with the old stuff that I was doing, the people, the places, and the things. And I want to make sure that I clarify this. The people that I used to be around, I'm not ever saying that they were bad people. I don't believe in bad people. I believe that God made everybody good. We just make bad choices. So that's another podcast. But I don't believe that God makes bad people. He made good people who made bad choices. So the people weren't bad. They was just still doing some stuff that I had gotten set free from, right? My mindset wasn't changed, because here's what I would always do. This was routine for me. And let me say this, it took me 6 residential treatments to finally gain recovery. And I'm a little over a month short of 9 years, of 9 years. Thank God. If it ain't for Jesus, I'm not sitting here doing this podcast, I'm dead. So anyway, what would always happen is that I would get clean, because it wasn't recovery. I would get clean, I would get a job, I would get back in church. And let me note that many of the years that I suffered or continued to fall, continue to stay chained to or bound to the old mindset, the old mentality, the old way of living. I did that as a child of God, as a man who was saved, as a man who had got prophesied over, a man who many people was like, you have an anointing, you have a calling, God, this, that, or the other. Many people have told me this over the years. So let me make sure that I note that I did much of my addiction still as a man of God, still as a person of God. And so I would, like I said, I would get clean, I would get a job, I would get back in church, I would get back in all of these good standing areas and places. And what would happen is that I really wouldn't get bonded or close to the new people, to the new places, to the new things. I was doing surface work. And in retrospect, I think that I was doing that intentionally because I was still chained to the old mentality or the old lifestyle. Let me give you a case in point. Again, as I was listening to the message today with Sarah Jakes Roberts, one of the things that she said that stuck out to me, that's one of the reasons why I'm using this as an example, because I did that same thing. She talked about the woman who had the issue of blood that touched the hem of Jesus' garment. When she touched the hem of Jesus' garment, she was made whole, right? She was cured or freed from the issue of blood that she had. Here's one thing, and I never looked at it from that perspective until today. Here's one thing that she also did. When she touched the hem of his garment and got freed, she went and hid. And in those days, when women would have that time of the month, they were supposed to be away. They weren't supposed to be around civilization or people who weren't in that time of the month. So she had to hide to get to Jesus, and she went and hid after she got to Jesus. She still had that mentality. Even though she was freed, she still had the high mentality, and that's what she did. And what happened was, again, thank you so much, God, for what Sarah Jakes Roberts had talked about today, and because this is what Jesus had to do to me. She said that Jesus said, "Who's that touched me?" So when he was able to find out who that woman was, she got set free from the mentality too. So she came out of hiding. And so one of the reasons why I continued to go back is that I wasn't free. I didn't position myself to get free from the mentality, the mindset, the people, the places, and the things. So I would always go back and, the people who I would be around, hey, how you doing? You looking good? Is this, that, or the other? What have you been doing? Oh, I know what you've been, whatever. All of these wonderful things I said. And then eventually the person or the people, hey, can you buy me this, that, or the other? And me, I would buy the drug of choice, whatever it was, I would buy it. And I wouldn't buy myself any. And that would last 2, 3, 4 days. And I know I never got past the 5th day. By that 5th day, latest, I'll come back, I'll give them some money to buy their stuff. Now I'm asking you to get me one as well, or who do you know that has this? And there was always a warning before I failed. Because it was one time I had went back around this guy. We had a bond. So I thought we was really close. We did a lot of stuff together. And he was actually, when I went over to his house, he was actually getting high. He was doing his drug of choice. And I didn't do anything. I sat there with him, we talked, hey, what's going on? How you doing? We hugged, fist pumped, all the whole 9 yards. And then he started, he resumed doing what he was doing. And for a long time, even when he finished doing what he was doing, for a long time, in that particular situation or time that I was with him, we were actually quiet. We really didn't have anything to talk about because I realized at that time, here's what God showed me. I realized at that time, we really didn't have anything in common outside of the drugs because our bond was created through the drugs, through the lifestyle, through getting the money to get the drugs. That's how our bond was created. And because I wasn't doing that, we really didn't have anything in common. We really didn't have anything to talk about. But the point that I'm stressing is God was showing me in that situation, you falling. You falling because here it is. Watch this. Because I didn't get connected to get rooted into the new person, people, places, and things that God has set me up with, I set myself up to go back to that easily. Because like I said, the first day, the second day, the third day, by the fifth day for sure, I was giving him money to give me some drugs. And it was because I was still attached, still chained to, still anchored to, still bond to, still slave to the people, the places, and the things mindset. And in every last one of those situations, I could have stopped it, but I didn't break my fall. Every last one of those situations, there was something spoken, whether it was out loud, it was something shown, whether it was physically visual, or it was something that was thought, that was put into my mind that said, Paul, you fallen. Every time. And every time I gave into it. So, grateful for the fact that the last treatment that I went to was 2015. And in that treatment center, or even in that time, the Bible talks about being transformed by the renewing of our minds. And my mind was renewed at that time. My mind was renewed. My mind, the first thing that I said is that you're not going to die this way. This is not going to be your legacy. This is not how it's going to end, and this is not how the rest of your life is going to be. And simultaneously, God said it to me like this: if you don't want to die like that, you have to stop living like that. And I responded with, what do I need to do? And it was here. It started here. And so I got unanchored. I got unchained. I got unbonded to the mindset and the mentality that it was going to be okay for me to go back over there and say hi and see how you doing back in them places and back doing the same things. I broke, thank God. I allowed that, I didn't break it, but I allowed that chain, those chains and those bonds to be broken. Pulled up the anchor, all of that. And here I am today, almost 9 years later, into recovery. But I broke my fall. I broke my fall because there was a situation that happened during that ideal time or during that normal time when I would go back. There was a situation that happened. I remember it like it was yesterday. I won't go off into it, but I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a situation that happened and everything was set up for me to go back. And I knew that day that the chains were broken, the bonds were broken, and I wasn't going to fall because I didn't give in to it. And not only that I didn't give in to it, I connected myself to some people that I knew that were doing what I wanted to do, and I cried out to them. I'm scared. This is the situation that's going on. I'm scared. It's all outdoors because I don't want to do this again. And that was when I knew that I wasn't going to fall and the chains and the bonds were broken. And so even in my own personal life, I understand that if I'm going to break my fall in any situation, I have to pay attention to the signs. Because like I said before, relapse doesn't just pop up, or whatever it is that happens in our lives. It doesn't just pop up. Him being violent or her being violent, it doesn't just pop up. There are signs. You losing your job, it doesn't just pop up. There are signs. Whatever the case may be, there are signs that says you're falling. But we don't break our fall, and then we do what I did. How I end up here, God? How I get back here, God? So, even from a professional standpoint, I see it all the time. I see it all of the time. And I talk to the people who I work with, to the clients and all of that. I talk to them, listen, you have to pay attention to the signs, because my mother used to say it like this. Woo! My mother used to say it like this. If you smell yourself, let me say it like this. If somebody else smelled you, you already smelled yourself before that. And so if somebody else is seeing you falling, trust and believe, you've already been seeing yourself falling. And so we're here. We're here to help you to change the mentality and the mindset, break the chains, break the bonds, so you won't end up falling. Whether, like I said, it's relationships, recovery, or whatever area in your life, you don't have to fall, people. We don't have to fall. And let me explain this to you. Let me say this. You can't not fall by yourself. I'm going to say that again. You can't not fall by yourself, meaning that you're going to need some people who's doing some things and going some places that you want to go. Yes. Let me simplify it. If you've never been married, there's nothing you can tell me about marriage. If you've never had a child, there's nothing you can tell me about raising a child. If you've never gotten into business owning, you can't tell me anything about owning a business. So I'll be setting myself up for failure. I'll be setting myself up to fall. I'll be setting myself up to stay the same and not change. I'll be setting myself up to stay locked into or bound to or anchored to all of the madness if I come to you for the advice that I need, that you have no experience with. So what am I saying, people? You can't do it by yourself. You can't do it your way. You have to get some people who are already doing it to show you how to be able to do it too. If you don't, falling is inevitable, and we don't have to continue to do that, people. So I'm asking everybody out there within the sound of my voice, what is it that you're falling to? Where is it that you're falling? What are you doing that you are not breaking your fall? Because many times when we don't break our fall, it's because we we want to fall to that thing anyway. So what are you doing that you're not breaking your fall? And if we could help, please cry out, shout out, speak out, type, whatever it is that you can do. Because again, this Kick Your Butt Out podcast, it's not about me getting glory. It's not about me getting popularity. I want freedom to be popular. I want greatness to be popular. I want extraordinary potential to be popular. I want us to be who we are created and predestined to be popular. That's one of the reasons why I do this podcast, because let me say this, people, that little 3-letter word, but, B-U-T, is stopping so many of us. And we blame it on everybody and everything else when it's our fault. So again, break your fall, people. Break your fall. Let us help. Tune in with me, share, like, don't like, repost, subscribe. Let's do this, because again, this is about us getting free and being who we was created and meant to be. Thank you all so much. This is Paul, your hip hop relationship and recovery coach. Before I go, I'm gonna say what I always say. If you're looking for a butt, it's gonna always be easy to find one. And so till next time, everybody, do the next right thing. Be well. And God bless everybody. This is Paul, your hip hop relationship and recovery coach, and I'll talk to y'all soon.